Now we exalt the vow, but hit the turnstile. Set the straight. Praise Yah from the rising to the evening to the closing the gates. Yeah. Fake. Day break. Skate. Nope. Can't relate. Truth mate. Magnify game, he's nothing but the truth.
So if every man is right in his own eyes, then that person don't always know when they're right, do they? They don't know when they're wrong, do they? And if everybody in this room trusts in Yah with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, there would never be any problems at all with us, period, here. And the only times we have problems is when one of you, the man or the woman, your buddy or your pal, decides to trust in their wisdom. And don't want to talk about it, because you talk about it, you'll be proven wrong. So you just want to say, I know what I'm doing is right. I don't have to talk to nobody. I'm doing the right thing. Now, this is what my heart tells me. But according to the scripture says, the heart is deceitful above all things. Your heart. There's nothing that can deceive a person than that person following their heart. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? There's nothing more deceptive than your heart. So don't follow your heart. I tell you now. Follow Yah. Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise and honor to the Holy One of Israel, to the Creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is, by saying HaleluYAH. Praise the mighty Yah. Yah is righteous. Yah is holy. And let YAHWEH be magnified. Once again, I come before you another week, another day, another night, another evening that Yah has even allowed us to come through. For his mercy endureth forever. My name is Mowreh IshiYAH, YisraEL, of the house of Israel, located right here, Cincinnati, Ohio, 1907 Vine Street, bringing you nothing but the truth. And yes, it is true. All we're going to do is tell you the truth. For Yah ordained me to tell you the truth, and this is what I'm going to do. And who is this Yah that has blessed us to bring forth his great, divine, and exalted words, words above all words? Well, this Yah is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. Yah is the ELohim of our fathers, the ELohim of Abraham, Issac, and YisraEL, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yah is our king. He's our lawgiver. He's our savior. Not just of Israel, but of the world. And once again, we're going to bring to you the great words of Yah. Last week, we left off dealing with Yah's 7 wonders. And I just want to emphasize wonder number 6 and wonder number 7. So you'll get a good dose of both. And then we'll close out on this series.
And then we have something great prepared for you this week, starting as soon as tomorrow. So please stay tuned if you want the truth. Again, what is a wonder? A wonder is a miracle. A wonder is something that only comes from Yah. It's something only you can do is just wonder, just ponder, wonder, because it's that fascinating. It is that big. It is that almost unnatural. It's natural because Yah himself is the only one that can produce the wonders that we have been bringing to you. But these wonders have been produced through various men that Yah set up at a particular time for a particular purpose. And I tell people all the time, if you know the time, you will know the purpose. But most people don't value time. Therefore, they don't know purpose. So these two things go hand in hand when it comes to Yah. So what about this sixth wonder and this seventh wonder? Well, the sixth wonder is whom you may know as Daniel in the scriptures, pronounced Daniel in Hebrew. And then the seventh wonder is whom you may know as Job. Many people pronounce his name Ayob. And of course, he lived during the time right after the flood. You know, he lived at that time right after the flood because of his age. It don't give his age in the beginning, I don't think, but in the end, he lived 140 some years later. This is after he went through all his trials and tribulations. So he lived to a good, right age where they were living 200 and 300 years old. He well exceeded the ages of even Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we're going to read about this seventh wonder, Job, and what makes him the seventh wonder. But also I want you to see about this Daniel, who was the sixth wonder. Now, if you've been listening to us, you would know that the six represents when Yah command his blessing. You also would know that this is the time when Yah made man after his own image and after his own likeness and gave him dominion over everything in earth. And you also know that this is the time when the Most High also made the creeping things and the beast and the cattle on the earth. So, and then the sixth represents the last day that Yah will do his work. And since it was the last day he did his work, Yah did twice as much. This is why the blessing is twice as much. And this is why Yah commands his blessing on this day, unlike any other day. In the 6th year, when he commanded his blessing, it brought forth fruit for 3 years. That year, which is the 6th year, the 7th year in which he don't work on, so he's not going to command his blessing that year because he did it in the 6th year. And then the 8th year, which is year 1, another year the Almighty told us not even to sow or reap because it was the Jubilee. So we're going to learn these things. But the 6th is the preparation day. And oftentimes people are not prepared on the Sabbath day because they refuse to work twice as much on the 6th. And they withholding their own blessings. So since this is the time where Yah will command his blessing, let me show you how blessed Daniel was and the blessing that he commanded upon his servant Daniel. According to the book of Daniel, not one time, not once, where you will read the word of Yah came unto Daniel saying, like the other prophets. Not one time will you read, and Elohim said. Not one time. But you will read something very unique about Daniel that most people don't acknowledge. And since they don't acknowledge it, they don't know that this man was a prophet. And since they don't acknowledge it, they don't even know this man. If you studied him, then you will understand how Yahweh deal with prophets. He's the very definition of how Yahweh would deal with a man that is called a prophet. Let's go to the book of Daniel, the 1st chapter, to show you the very first thing that this man would do to be blessed. And I want you to pay close attention to this. Since I got 2 orders I'm dealing with and 2 great men I'm dealing with, I'm going to try to get through this so you can see exactly what we're trying to show you. Especially in these last days, if you want to get anything, this is what you want to get. And let me show you where Daniel became blessed. First thing he did in the book of Daniel, the 1st chapter. And watch this. In the 8th verse, this is what it says. But Daniel purpose in his heart, and this is some people don't do. They don't have purpose in their heart. They might have purposes, but typically if you ask somebody what their purpose is, they either don't know or their purposes are outside of their heart. It's something has something to do with their job. It has something to do with their kids. It has something to do with everything but the Most High. And it says, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. So here it is. Here's a man. He didn't stay away from certain things because he wanted to lose weight. He didn't want to stay away from things just because he was trying to deal with some type of illness. And somebody said, man, you need to stop drinking, or you need to stop eating meat, or you need to do this because you got high blood pressure, or because you overweight, or because of this, or because of that. No, that's stuff outside of your heart. And oftentimes these things don't have nothing to do with the Most High. And as a result of it, most people are not even successful. doing it. But here's a man that purposed in his heart that he won't defile himself. In other words, he's not eating certain things because of the law, because he didn't want to defile himself. And so this is a great difference starting off with this man. And it says, now Elohim had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my master the king, who have appointed your meat in your drink. For why should he see your faces worse liking than the children are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us post to eat and water to drink. And if you look up the word post, it's just lentils, vegetables, and really just lentils. You read about Daniel and these lentils, you'll read about Jacob and his lentils. So this is what he began to do. And watch what it says, 13th verse. Then let our countenance be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So he consented to them this matter, and proved them 10 days. And why 10? 10 is holy. Why 10? 10 represents something that's set apart. Why 10? 10 represents something that's sanctified. 15th verse. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them posts. Now all they wanted was water and posts. And here in captivity, we want more than that. We want the king's wine, we want the king's meat, we want the king's everything, irregardless if it defiles us. Now can we see why this man was so blessed? And why Yahweh will command his blessing upon him? Because the very first thing he did was purpose his heart to do something that most will never ever do. Not even when they get sick. They won't do it. Not even reading the story of Daniel, they still won't do it. They can be sick, they can be overweight, they can be a lot of stuff on their deathbed, and they still not going to purpose their heart. And not only they look fairer in their skin, countenance was better. Watch what it says in the 18th verse. Well, let's start at the 17th verse. As for these 4 children, Elohim gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them. And among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his reign. So in other words, not only did they look better, but they was 10 times wiser. He had 10 times more understanding than everybody else. And why? Because they had a purpose in their heart. And their purpose in their heart was towards the Most High. It wasn't toward themselves. So that's the first thing I noticed about this man Daniel and why he's the sixth wonder, because you can see right away how Yahweh will command his blessing upon him. This man had 10 times more understanding and wisdom than everybody else. The second thing I noticed about this Daniel is in the second chapter. And watch what happens. Starting at the 10th verse. That was number one, his diet. Changed everything. And now he's more wiser, more understanding. And watch number 2. The 10th verse, the Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore, there is no king, master, nor ruler that adds such things as any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And what was asked? And watch the 11th verse. And it is a rare thing that the king requires, and there is none other that can show it before the king except the gods, the ELohims, whose dwelling is not with flesh. Although the New Testament will teach you there's a fallen angel and he came to earth and he impregnated women in the book of Genesis, the 6th chapter, when they was kicked out of heaven, and you had these sons of Elohim that was angels, and they start mating with women. And here it says the gods don't even dwell in flesh, and they don't, because they not made from no dirt or no earth. They might have flesh, but it ain't called the dirt of the earth. For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And what did he want them to do? Not only this man wanted somebody to interpret his dream, but he wanted somebody to tell him what he dreamed. No wonder the astrologers and the magicians said, man, nobody ain't never had such a thing, man. They tell me what I dream. And he had to depend on them, because Yahweh took the dream from me. All he knew was this dream was great, but he knew it if somebody would tell him, but nobody can tell him, because in truth, the Most High wasn't with none of them to tell them. So this is how this story began. And as a result, this is what happened. 19th verse. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the Elohim of heaven. And Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of Elohim forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times of the season. He removeth kings, setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what's in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou, O Elohim of my fathers, who has given me wisdom and might, and has made known unto me now what we desire of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. So here it is. The very thing they say couldn't be done was done. It was done. And show you how humble Daniel was. Show you this. 28th verse. Show you how he didn't get the big head. And he just told the truth. And this is some of the problems with some of the various rulers and leaders. They just don't tell the truth 100%. And watch the truth. 28th verse. But there is a Elohim in heaven that reveals secrets. Now, nobody want to acknowledge that the Most High reveals secrets. They think if you're not written in the scriptures, then you couldn't be a prophet, because all the prophets are in the scriptures. Well, who do you think revealing what they said today? Especially Daniel, because there's things the Almighty told Daniel, close up the book and seal it. It's not from your time. It's not even for you to understand. This is for the time of the end. Well, who we going to reveal that to? It says, but there's an Elohim in heaven that revealeth secrets and make it known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, my thoughts came into my mind upon thy bed. What should come to pass thereafter? And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. In other words, let it be known it was because of the Most High. He the one reveals secrets. He the one knows the dark and hidden things. And he don't reveal it to anybody just because that person is great and special. No. He reveals it to them for his purpose. For his purpose. And you know the dream, and you know what he dreamed, this big, great statue, but that's not the part I want you to see, where Yahweh will command his blessing upon Daniel the second time. This is what I want you to see. You notice this vision came to Daniel in a night, and it was revealed unto him a night. See, this is how Yahweh would deal with prophets. Yahweh said he will do nothing but what he first revealed unto his servants, the prophets. That's how I know this man a prophet, even though there's nowhere in here it called him a prophet. Watch what it says in the 46th verse. Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face, worshipped Daniel, commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your Elohim is a Elohim of Elohims. He is the master of kings and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret. Because he did something that ain't never been done. He not only interpreted the dreams, but he told him what he dreamed. And the only way you can know such a thing, you got to get there from the Most High. Then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many great gifts and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which is Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king. King wanted him real close to him. And this is the second thing that Yahweh did to bless this man. He made him not only the first thing he did, since he purposed his heart to not defile himself, Yah gave him wisdom and understanding. Then the second thing he would do, when they couldn't reveal a dream to Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel and his companions went into their chambers and they sought Yah. And the scripture said, if you seek me, you shall find me. And they found the Most High after seeking him. And then once they sought him and found him, it made Nebuchadnezzar bow, worship to the name of Yah. It made him confess that Yah himself is the Elohims of Elohims. And he put him over all the provinces of Babylon. The third thing I seen that happened with this man Daniel, to show you how Yahweh commanded his blessing upon this man. Watch what happens. Daniel 3:14. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, It is a true. Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, he already seen there's no Elohim but the Most High, but this fool still wants somebody to bow to this image. And it says, None of ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if you worship not, ye shall be cast the same iron in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is that Elohim that shall deliver you out of my hand? See how soon we forget? And that's what happened when you do good. You just start forgetting Yah. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. In other words, these three Israelites, these three Hebrews looked at the king and said, F you. F you. That's what they said. We're not even careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our Elohim whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. And he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, O fool, that we will not serve thy deities, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his vices was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 17 times more than it was wont to be heated. In other words, throw them in a fiery furnace, because they wouldn't bow to this graven image. And all this was, Yahweh will test you. He will prove you. This is the third thing to show how Yahweh will command his blessing. He want to test you. He want to see what's in your heart. And the Almighty told us in the third commandment, Thou shalt not take the name of Yah thy Elohim in vain, for Yah will not hold him guiltless that take his name in vain. And this is something they refuse to do. They don't care how great this king was. And they didn't care if their life was on the line. All the king got to tell our people is, look, you got to work on the Sabbath day. And they will do it. You got to get your kids vaccinated. And they will do it. You got to get this heart transplant. They will do it. Whatever the king will say, our people will do it. But not Azariah, Mishael, or Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. No, they wouldn't do it. And watch what happens as a result of not doing it. Of course, as you all know, they were saved. But this is what happened after they were saved. 28th verse. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the Elohim of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who have sent his angel. Because this is his servant. That's what an angel means, a messenger. Why you think this is the third thing that Yahweh would do to command his blessing? He sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him and had changed the king's word, yielded their bodies that they might not serve nor worship any deity except their own Elohim. Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, language will speak anything amiss against the Elohim of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made dunghill, because there is no other Elohim that can deliver after this sort. Well, first of all, he said he was the Elohim of Elohim. Now he said, hey, there is no other Elohim. Because this is where Yah will bring you to. The fourth thing is in the 4th chapter. And watch this. And as a result of all that, watch what Nebuchadnezzar do. Starting at the very first verse. Nebuchadnezzar the king unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth. Shalom be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders. And what are we talking about? That's what we're talking about, the 6 wonders that the high Elohim have wrought towards me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. You see how Yahweh made this man acknowledge, confess his wonders? But it's still not enough. It's still not enough that all these things have taken place. And now we're at the 5th. And watch what it says in this Daniel the 4th chapter, the 19th verse. Because Nebuchadnezzar still don't get it. Because this is what Yahweh would do. Pharaoh never got it until the end. And Nebuchadnezzar is not getting it either. It says in the 19th verse, then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belteshazzar answered and said, my master, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thy enemies. Because at this time people start hating the king and start getting many enemies, and you're going to see why. The tree that thou saw which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, the fruit thereof much, and it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt. And upon those branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O king, that art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth. Yeah, he had grown, but this fool wasn't feeding the poor. This fool wasn't taking care of the people in his provinces. In other words, Nebuchadnezzar became an oppressor, even though he had waxed great. He had grew and was strong to the extent that his greatness reached unto heaven. But because he's like America, modern Babylon, they don't care about the poor. They got in every city, they got the government, which is called police officers and sheriffs and National Guards. They don't come out to help the people. You see poor on the streets, and they'll arrest them and move them and do all kind of vile things to the poor. Violate their rights. As much food as America has, here it is, these restaurants, instead of giving their food out to the poor after they close their doors, they'll throw it away. And then they cite a law that says we got to throw it away. We can't feed them, because if we feed them, then if they get sick, they can sue us. What kind of crap is that? These poor people eating out the trash cans every night. Going in and getting food out of the trash can. And you worried about them getting sick off your food. And for them to sue you. This is how wicked and oppressive these regimes become. And Nebuchadnezzar, ancient Babylon, was no different. And watch how Daniel tried to save him. He tried to save him. 24th verse. This is the interpretation, O king. This is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon my master the king, that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven. 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. And whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee, after thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee. Break off thy sins by righteousness, and thy iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a litany of thy tranquility. Of course, he didn't do it. And he had to become a beast for 7 years as a result of his pride and his arrogance. This is the 5th thing that Yahweh will do. To command his blessing. Now all these various visions, all these various dreams coming through this man Daniel. Why? Because he was blessed. This is what Yahweh would do when he commanded his blessings. Watch the 6th thing in the 5th chapter. And nobody never heard a man becoming a beast for 7 years. That's a wonder. The 6th thing that I seen. So you know what this is all about. Watch this in Daniel the 5th chapter, 13th verse. Then was Daniel brought in before the king. And the king spake and said unto Daniel, Art thou that Daniel which are the children of the captivity of Yehuda, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry, or Yehuda? I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the ELohims is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. We tell everybody about the light, and they still ignoring us. We tell them come into the light, and they still don't want to do it. And we telling them what the light is all about. And now the wise men and astrologers have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But they could not show the interpretation of the thing. No, because it was for one person only anyway. And watch what it says in the 17th verse. Then Daniel answered and said, Behold, the king, let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation. O thou king, the Most High Elohim gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom, majesty, glory, and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, languages trembled and feared before him, whom he will slew, and whom he would keep alive, and whom he will set up, and whom he will put down. But when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was disposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen. His body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High Elohim ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he will. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thy heart, though thou knewest all this. In other words, you watched your father go through all this, and you knew this, and you still ain't even humbled yourself. After seeing your father in the field for 7 years looking like a beast, acting like a beast, mind gone, and you knew it came from the Most High. You watched your father oppress the poor, and you seen what Yahweh did to him. 23rd verse. But thou hast lifted up thyself against Yah of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee. Thou and the master, thy wives and thy concubines have drunk wine in them, and thou hast praised deities of silver and gold and brass and iron, wood and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know. And the Elohim in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all the ways, hast thou not glorified. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene tekel upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, Elohim have numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, put a chain of gold about his neck, made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. And that night was Belshazzar, the king of Chaldeans, slain. He was killed. See how Yahweh will command his blessing? All through his servant Daniel. And this is not the last thing Daniel will do, but this is the seventh thing that I've seen done. And it's in the book of Daniel, the 6th chapter. And we're going to get right into it. The 16th verse. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel, cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, thy Elohim whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee, because the king at this time loved Daniel. Darius loved Daniel, and he never wanted this for Daniel. And he was tricked, and he was bamboozled into doing something to Daniel that was not deserving of Daniel. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his master, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went into his palace, passed the night fasting. Here it is, when trouble hit the king. Now the king wasn't thrown in the lion's den. It was Daniel thrown in the lion's den. But what would the king do? He would fast. You tell our people to do some fasting. What we got to fast for? We don't have to fast, and we don't have to rent our clothes, and we don't have to do none of that. Not even on the Day of Atonement. They won't fast. They will be so rebellious and so prideful, and even eat something on the Day of Atonement, knowing we don't deserve no meal. especially on that day. Because that's the day that we're coming before Yah because of our sins. 18th verse. Then the king went to his palace, passed the night fast, neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. And that's what I asked people to do when the Mowreh Elesha died. I said, look, no singing and dancing for 30 days. Even a heathen king know better than that. It's a time to mourn and it's a time to rejoice. The king arose very early in the morning, went in haste unto the den and lions, and when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living Elohim, is thy Elohim whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My Elohim has sent his angel, have shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. This was the king exceedingly glad for him, and commanded that he should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den. No manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his Elohim. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which have accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions. Them, their children, their wives, and the lions had the mastery of them, and break all their bones in pieces, wherever they came at the bottom of the den. In other words, before they can hit the bottom, the lions was eating them while they was in the air. They couldn't even fall on the ground. This is how the lions ate them. But watch what Darius said. 25th and 26th verse. Or through the 28th verse. Then King Darius wrote unto all the people, nations, languages. How many times you got to write? His father did it, his father did it, and his father's father did it. That dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the Elohim of Daniel. For he is the living Elohim and steadfast forever, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivered and rescued. He worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who have delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. And here it is, we telling everybody, telling the world, telling our people that there is no other Elohim. And he is the deliverer. He is the one that rescued. He is the one that worked signs and wonders in heaven and earth. And here it is, our people won't accept that. They think it's somebody else that's a savior. Even though this man they called a savior ain't even written in the Holy Scriptures not one time. And his name never came out of the mouth of Yah not one time. And they would say, they would call us some wizards, some fools. And we say, what King Nebuchadnezzar, King Darius, Belshazzar, all of them confessed and said that the Elohim of the Hebrews, there is no Elohim but him. There's none beside him. And as you can see, all this happened. Man, Daniel reigned most of his adult life in Babylon. And all these wonders would take place with him. And all the various wonders that you see is all about visions and dreams. Visions and dreams. No wonder he's the sixth wonder, because this what Yahweh would do when he command his blessings upon you. And what about Job? Go to Job right now, which is the seventh wonder. See, the scripture says the end of a matter is better than the beginning. If you don't believe me, go to the book of Ecclesiastes. I just want you to see this so you can understand, because oftentimes when people read about Job and talk about Job, matter of fact, most Christians, when they talk about Job, they talk bad about Job. And I don't get it. They must not have no understanding at all. Watch what it says in Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter. And I seen some Hebrews criticize Job. Not much, but I seen it and heard it with my own ears. But watch this. In Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter, the first verse. A good name is better than a precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one birth. Who gonna teach that? Go around telling people, man, no, the day of death is better than one's birth. And see how they attack you. See how they look at you as if you're a fool. Second verse. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. And today they feast at the house of mourning. So now they don't become the house of mourning no more. It's a house of feasting and celebration and laughter. That's what they do at the house of mourning now. They will sing and they will dance and they will celebrate and they will praise, and then right afterwards they will go eat and laugh and have a good old time. Not so with the righteous. Third verse. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance of the heart is made better. The heart of the wise. Now watch this fourth verse. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. I just want you to ponder on these things, because when people talk about Job and think about Job, they never talk about his ending. They talk about what he went through, but they don't talk about how he ended. And we're going to show you the end of the whole matter. And we're going to start in Job, the 2nd chapter. Because Yahweh was only looking for one thing and one thing only. It's the one thing Yahweh looked in all his servants. And Job possessed it in a way that had never been tested. Watch this in the book of Job, the 2nd chapter. And you'll see why Job is the 7th wonder. And again, what's a wonder? Well, a wonder is some type of miracle, some type of great thing only you know come from the Most High. And he said our people will be for signs and wonders. And every wonder we brought to you was just that. See, with the heathens, their wonders are buildings and monuments and statues and paintings. The great canyons and pyramids and things they have in museums. And no, Yahweh, his wonders are things that's made after his own image and after his own likeness. And so you can understand this man Job, let me just show you this real quick. Real quick, after Yahweh will ask Satan to ask him, have he considered Job, who was perfect? Watch this in the first verse. There's a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was perfect, upright, and one that feared Elohim. And in addition to that, he ensureth evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. And Yahweh, he will tell you the ending from the beginning. And watch this. Let me show you the first thing that happened to Job as a result of Satan considering Job. 13th verse. Because Yahweh asked, how you consider my servant Job? But Satan said, show you what Satan said. In the 11th verse, after he asked him, he said, 10th and 11th verse of the first chapter. Hast thou not made an edge about him and about his house and about all that he have on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands. His substance is an increase in the land. But pull forth thy hand now and judge all that he have, and he will curse thee to thy face. How Satan know that? Because Satan done proved people, tested people, and this is exactly what they do. But see, Job wasn't that type of person. But because this is in Satan, just to test and prove that somebody will turn from the Most High if they put in certain circumstances, this is what he began to do. In the 13th verse, it says, and there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their elder brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing, the asses was feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped and alone to tell thee. First thing that happened. And while he was yet speaking, in other words, this back to back to back to back stuff, there came also another and said, the fire of Elohim is falling from heaven. And I told you, if it's number 2, it's something coming from heaven. And this is exactly what happened. And I burned up the sheep, the servants consumed them, and I only escaped alone to tell you. And what was the third thing that happened? While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out with 3 bands. Why 3 bands? Because this is the third thing. And fell upon the camels and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and not only am escaped alone to tell thee. And watch the 4th thing. And while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house. Why the 4 corners? Because this is the 4th thing. And it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. 4 quick things right off the bat hit Job. Then Job arose and rent his mantle, shaved his head, fell down upon the ground and worshiped. And he said, naked I came out of my mother's womb, naked shall I return there. And Yah gave, Yah have taken away. Blessed be the name of Yah. And all this Job sinned not, nor charged Elohim foolishly. But Satan was not done. Yahweh reiterated that this man was perfect. But watch the 5th verse of the 2nd chapter. But put forth thy hand now and touch his bone and his flesh. He will curse thee to thy face. And Yahweh said unto Satan, behold, he is in thy hand, but save his life. So went Satan from his presence, the presence of Yahweh, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown, meaning his head. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. So now the fifth thing is he just got all kind of boils all over him. Then it says, and really, it's, the 16. Let me make sure. Oh, 4th verse, I skipped one. Satan answered Yahweh and said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thy hand now, touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And Yahweh said unto Satan, behold, he is in thy hand, but save his life. So went Satan forth from the presence of Yahweh, smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. In other words, Satan did exactly what he said. If you do, he'll curse you to your face. And he touched his skin and his bone and his flesh. And watch the last thing that happened. 9th verse. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thy integrity? Curse Elohim and die. In other words, she gave up all hope. And this is what most people do. This was the last straw. This was the last thing. Satan touched his bone and his skin, and still Job retained his integrity. So Satan nudged his wife and said, look here, finish this man out, tell him to die. And that's what she went to do. Told him to curse Elohim and die. But watch what Job said in the 10th verse. But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of Elohim? And shall we not receive evil? And all this did not Job sin with his lips. All these 7 evils came upon Job, and he still retained his integrity. And why? Because this is what Yahweh is looking for man to do anyway. This is what he's looking for man to do. Watch the 3rd verse of the 2nd chapter. And Yahweh said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth Elohim and escheweth evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without a cause. And the question you got to ask yourself is, do you have integrity? See, Yahweh, we get caught up in all the various details, not realizing what is the end of the matter. And the end of the matter is, do you still retain your integrity? Watch the 9th verse. Then said his wife unto him, do thou still retain thy integrity? Because this was all about his integrity. And nobody wants to have integrity anymore. All you got to do is touch something in their life, and you're going to see the integrity flush down the toilet. Let you get hungry. Well, I had none of you. I'm going to just go ahead and eat this thing. You know, my children got to eat. I got to eat, you know. No integrity. Let you be broke long enough and see what you'll do. Man, you know, I got to eat, man. You know, if I got to sell a dime bag, I just got to do it. You don't know what a man would do when he put in a certain situation. Well, Yahweh do know. He's going to lose his integrity unless your heart is fixed. And Job's heart was fixed. Watch what Job said in the 27th verse. This was not about all the adversities one man can take. Any man can take adversity if he have integrity. But if you don't have no integrity, let you get locked up in jail and have to stay a little bit longer than you thought and see what you'll do. Next thing you know, a man start looking like a woman and you start laying with a man as a man laying with a woman. You don't know what a man would do, but Yahweh do. Will you retain your integrity? Women get locked up together, and next thing you know, they one start dressing like a man, looking like a man, walking like a man, acting like a man, talking like a man, and now she become your man, and you become her woman, and both of y'all women. Will you retain your integrity? Let you get in a pinch. And now, even though you told them all these years that you don't work on a Sabbath day, and then they tell, look, I need you this Sabbath. I've been with you. Now you got to be with me. And I need you this Sabbath. Watch what a man will do. Because Yahweh know what a man will do. Because he's searching for the man that has integrity. Job 27. And watch what it says. The first verse. Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, as Elohim liveth, who have taken away my judgment, and the Almighty who have vexed my soul, all the while my breath is in me, and the spirit of Elohim is in my nostril. In other words, Yahweh done vexed me. But you know what? The breath is still in me, and the spirit is still in my nostrils. My lips shall not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. Elohim forbid that I should justify you. Till I die, I will not remove my integrity from me. My righteousness I hold fast and will not let it go. My heart shall not reproach me so long as I live. Let my enemy be as the wicked. In other words, don't let me. Let my enemy be as the wicked, and he that riseth up against me as the unrighteous. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he have gained, when Elohim taketh away his soul? And this is what's going on. We got a bunch of hypocrites. Say they fear Elohim. Say they walk in his ways. Say they keep the commandments. Say they believe in Elohim. Say they believe in a law. And they ain't nothing but hypocrites. Because all that has to be done is put them in a little pinch. And then you're going to see the truth. Whether they have integrity or not. And Job showed. Job proved that a man can have integrity. Watch what it says in the 31st chapter. Why you think he's the seventh wonder? All the man needs is one of these things to happen to him. Job had 7 horrific things happen to him. Back to back to back to back. And the last thing that happened to him was his wife told him to do the unthinkable. Curse Elohim and die. And why? Because Satan moved her to have him lose his integrity. Here it is. We got people talking against the law. Talking about you don't have to keep the law. You don't have to keep the Sabbath day. Well, I asked them, how do you become blessed? And I asked them, are they blessed? And watch what the hypocrites will tell you. Watch what they say. They'll say, yeah, I'm blessed. And ask them, how do you become blessed? And see what the hypocrites say. Watch what it says. Job 31. First verse. Show you what integrity looked like. I made a covenant. This is what Job said. I made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of Elohim is there from above? And what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is not destruction to the wicked and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? Did not he see my ways and count all my steps? If I walk with vanity, or if my foot have hasted to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that Elohim may know my integrity. If my step have turned out of the way, and my heart walk after my eyes, and if any blot have cleaved to my hands, then let me sow, and let another eat. Yea, let my offspring be rooted out. If my heart have been deceived by a woman, or if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind unto another, and let others bow down upon her. For this is a heinous crime. Yea, it is an iniquity to be punished by the judges. In other words, do you now see this man's integrity? In other words, this is a man that served Yahweh in the light, the same as he would in darkness. And as soon as our people get away from the light, my goodness, you'll see what they're doing in darkness. Darkness just represents that secret place, that hidden place where nobody else can see you. But Yahweh see you. He see you. And this is something that the people don't fear. How can you then say you fear Elohim and you're doing the things that you're doing and won't even acknowledge that Yahweh can see everything? As Job said, Yahweh is counting your steps. Watch what it says in the book of Job 13. And I'm going to start reading at the 14th verse. This is what it says, or the 16th verse. Now I'm going to start at the 14th verse. Watch what it says. Wherefore do I take my flesh in my teeth, and put my life in my hand? Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. But I will maintain my own ways before him. In other words, I'm going to keep my integrity. He also shall be my salvation. And watch this. For an hypocrite shall not come before him. Hear diligently my speech, and my declaration with your ears. Behold, now I have ordered my cause. I know that I shall be justified. And of course, he was. He was. Watch this in Job 17. Because at the end of the day, it's about your integrity. See, that's why Yahweh asks, what you going to do in the end thereof? Job 17. And watch this. The 8th verse.
90 seconds.
Upright men shall be astonished at this, and the innocent shall stir up himself against the hypocrite. The righteous also shall hold on his way. And what is a hypocrite? See, a hypocrite is somebody, all you got to do is put them in a certain situation, and everything they was telling you before will be thrown out the window. Man, I would never hit a woman. Put him in a situation and watch what he do. Watch what he do. Man, I never take Yahweh's name in vain. Put him in a situation and watch what he do. Man, I never swear by Yahweh's name falsely. Watch what he do. The righteous also shall hold on his way, and he that have clean hands shall be stronger and stronger. But as for you all, do ye return and come now? For I cannot find one wise man among you.
10 seconds.
My days are past. My purposes are broken off, even the thoughts of my heart. They, talking about the hypocrites, change the night into day. The light is short because of the darkness. And most people don't even understand what that means. But so you can understand what Job is saying, they change the night into day. They're called hypocrites. Watch this in the book of Job 24. Because like I said, a hypocrite is somebody that will do something that they say they won't do. In other words, they just hypocrites, they liars, they do just the opposite. And we have some great hypocrites among us. They say they believe things, but in the end of the day, they like the New Testament. You can say you believe it all day long, but you totally living a whole nother life than what you say you believe. You say you believe in the New Testament, but the New Testament tell women not to even speak in the church. But I see women speaking all day long in the church. Not just speaking, but preaching in the church. To me, that's a hypocrite. Watch this. Some more hypocrites. start at the 13th verse and watch what it says. Oh, let's start at the 12th verse. It says, men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out. Yet Elohim layeth not folly to them. They are of those that rebel against the light. And we got a bunch of people rebelling against the light. I tell them about the light, and they get more rebellious and more rebellious. They know not the ways thereof. The ways of what? The light. Nor abide in the paths thereof. What paths? The paths of the light. And watch what it says, 14th verse. The murderer rising with the light killeth the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. Now I also of the adulterer waited for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. In the dark they dig through houses which they have marked for themselves in the daytime. They know not the light. They don't even know the light. All the light is an instrument to help them do their dirty work, which is going to take place in the night. In other words, all the light is the weapon they will one day use to show, to demonstrate that they have no integrity at all. None. In the daytime, they look just like you and I. But at night, they have no integrity. None. Watch what it says, 17th verse. For the morning is to them even as the shadow of death. And why is the morning a shadow of death? Because if one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. They know. If anybody caught them doing what they really doing, if somebody caught them in the lies they really tell, if somebody caught them doing the dirt they really, just put a tape recorder, attach a hidden tape recorder on everybody that slander, talebear, and lie. And then ask them, do they talebear, slander, and lie? And see what they say. And then play the tape back. And you know what they will do? Because they had no integrity, they will still lie. Even though you played the tape back to them. And why? Because they have no integrity. Here it is. We got police officers on tape, killing, murdering, doing things that are straight out cold-blooded, wrong, wicked, and against the laws that they say they supposed to do. And we play the tape back and show them. And what happens? They still lie and they still get off. This is what happens. This is what a hypocrite is. And this what Job showed and demonstrated. That in the end is all about your integrity. In the end, if you're doing what's right, it is better than the beginning. In the end, while you're looking at the beginning, Yahweh is looking at the end. And the last scripture in the book of Job 42. The 12th verse. So Yahweh blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning. For he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, 1,000 she-asses. He had also 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he called the name of the first Yemimah, the name of the second Keziah, the name of the third Karen Hapuk. And in all the land were no women found so fair as the daughters of Job. And their father gave them inheritance among their brethren. In other words, they didn't even tell you the name of the sons. They just mentioned the name of the daughters. After this lived Job 140 years, and saw his sons' sons, even 4 generations. So Job died being old and full of days. Praise ye Yah. This is our 7th wonder. Our 7th wonder demonstrated not only that he was blessed, he was set apart, that the very works that he did and where everything ended, when it was all said and done, Job retained his integrity. And the question, is your heart fixed that you might retain your integrity? That time that happened to Job will happen again. And will you be prepared? And will your heart be fixed? Well, we will see. Until tomorrow, Yahweh love you. So do I. Shalom.
To you, my Yah, do I lift up my soul. And trusting you, he always kept me whole. And left my enemies deep in their holes. Let none that wait on Yahweh be ashamed. Put shame on those who sin without a cause. Show me your ways, please teach me your laws. Oh ELohim of my salvation. I'm staying down and patient as a child all the while I'm waiting. Remember not the sins of my youth. Lead me in your truth and he'll give your soul ease. The earth shall remain inherited by it.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.